think we're live. It's only 11:07 and we had a few technical issues and it's really too bad because Greg was on a roll. Good
Wow.
morning, everyone. My name is Rina Little from Littleworks Indie Media and you are listening to Geek Speak. And on today's topic, and I'll get Greg to introduce himself and jump in, but on today's topic, we are doing block editors. And I think Greg was doing an exceptional job of explaining what block editors were did a few minutes ago. So maybe you can rewind that and start from the beginning.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg with Original 72 Creative, and we're a full service website graphic design and digital marketing firm in Vancouver. And yeah, today, like Rena said, we're talking about block plugins that you can install that will extend the native block building options that you have in WordPress. So, as most of you probably should know by now, when you install WordPress, fresh install without anything extra, the normal way of editing pages within WordPress default is called the block builder. And the block builder has all kinds of different block types, such as a paragraph block to just do a paragraph of text, an image block to throw in an image on the page. There's a heading block, and there's I don't know exactly how many blocks there are. There's a bunch. There's probably at least 15 to 20 of your basic blocks that will give you the look and the layout of inserting content on your pages. So the block plugins that you can get are to extend and give you additional options with similar blocks that WordPress already has, or
So,
give you additional blocks that give you even more options to do different things for blocks that maybe
okay.
don't exist yet in WordPress.
So let me just paraphrase just a couple of things. So I always think of blocks, the different blocks, you want a different block every time you want a different content type. So if you're doing a header or you're doing paragraph or you're doing image. So that's really what a block is. And then the extension ones are really great because they're pre-formatted blocks to do different kinds of things like lists and other kinds of content formats. And that's what Greg's talking about on the extended ones. So there's
Yeah.
a limited
As,
number. Yeah.
as a for instance, one that would probably be common that most people would use would be a testimonial block. So when you want to throw
Yeah.
testimonials on your
Yeah.
website, there's a
Yeah.
specific testimonial block that has usually a setting to show like star ratings and the person's name and the company, and this block can also be formatted to look many different ways depending on how you want to display it on your site. And we'll get into probably a couple others, but that's a good example of
Yeah.
an additional block type that you could throw on.
All right. Are you ready for my first question?
Shoot.
Okay. So why would you want to use the WordPress blocks and an extension um, for those blocks rather than a usual drag and drop editor, like one of the plugins that you get or the templates that you can buy?
Well, when you're going with the native WordPress blocks, for one, you're just using native WordPress editor. You're not using um, a page builder like Elementor or Beaver Builder, things like that, which tend to be a lot heavier, a heavier
Yeah.
load on the site.
So
There's one big thing, and I don't know yet if this has been changed with a lot of the page builders that people use. But when you use the block builder or a block plugin that gives you additional block options, when you use one of those blocks to create content on your page, only the necessary CSS or JavaScript needed to use that one block would be additionally loaded on the
right.
page. and
Okay.
you need to display that. Whereas when you're using a page builder, it has
Yeah.
so many features and functions, and everything
Yeah.
just gets loaded for the
Right.
off chance that you might use something that's within it. So that's why I say when it's a lot heavier
Yeah.
on a site. So
Okay, so just to let everyone know, when Greg says something's a lot heavier, that means it's bad. So if you're not using it, you don't want it. Basically, you want to keep your site light, and the reason is because it takes a lot less time to load when you have a lighter site, and that can seriously affect your user experience, but it can also affect your on-page SEO or your overall technical SEO and your core vital ratings. And I believe that we have part two next week. This is my little foreshadow. Part two next week on how these things affect your SEO. So you might want to tune in next. All right, so we've got that out of the way. So then the next question I have is, um, do you have any favorites? Which ones are you using? And um, are there any ones that we
I
should really
do.
stay away from in your list? Yeah.
mm, I mean, I don't
Like,
think I
how do you
have any
assess?
that I would. I so these the topic was kind of like the three or the most popular block plugins to extend the feature, right? So I wouldn't be listing one
Mhm.
that shouldn't be potentially used. I would just,
Okay.
but stick to the list of the ones that I will give out today, and you should be fine. They're all reputable. The difference between all of them, I will say, is because there are a lot, and the difference really between them is how the editing experience potentially, because each of them have different ways that you can go through the settings of what each
Hmm.
block provides you. So I would say most likely that you might want to pair a block plugin that is sort of with a theme. And so my first on the list, because I'm a Cadence theme user for all of my sites these days, is I also use the Cadence block plugin to get
Right.
all of their extended block features that they've built to help building sites. So that's my combo. Although you do not have to use Cadence blocks if you use Cadence theme, you can use Cadence blocks on any other theme you feel like. But because I use Cadence, I just prefer the usability is the same between the theme and the blocks, so it's familiar.
Right.
So
Okay.
I would say that's probably the way to go. So if you use a theme like Spectra One, which is a new block theme, or Astra, I believe, are the two themes that pair more uh, more better better with Spectra blocks, which is another
Okay.
block plugin that you can buy. So that's what I would say when we go through more of these block plugins. Some of them pair nicely with a specific theme, although you don't have to use it with a specific theme. But if you do use that specific theme, I would tend to lean to use their block plugin.
Okay. I suspect that that would also affect the support that you can get. I think that um, I can imagine when I used to have a PC way back in the day, when I was in like, I think I had a PC pre 2000s, and
Mm.
you would get like a problem between your printer and your computer, or your computer and your whatever software. And there would be this tendency for support people to blame the other thing and not to really look that far into it. If you're using the the block editor that matches and is recommended by your theme, then I think you would probably get better support that way too. And you won't get stuck not knowing what to do when you have a glitch or a problem.
Well, at least you would have one place that you need to go
Yeah,
to for support, as
yeah,
opposed to if there's a theme problem, you have different support for that. And then if you use a different
yeah.
block plugin, you got to get support at some other place.
Right.
Yeah, that would be a a good reason to do it.
And do they have any open source block extenders?
Well, all of the ones that I have here, they all have a free version. And then if you want to even extend that block plugin even more, they all have paid versions as well. All of the
Okay.
free versions are quite good. I mean, they do have the extra settings over the native stuff and a couple of additional ones. But some, like if you want other specific stuff, I'll give you for instance with Cadence. I believe there's a new form block, so you can create an entire form for your website with the form block that's in
I
their
see.
plugin. So you don't have the need now to install like Contact Form 7 or Fluent Forms or any of those things. You install the block plugin and there's a form option already in there. I think that option is in their paid um, version of the block plugin though.
Okay. So when you decided on the most popular blog editor extenders, were you looking at how many downloads, or were you looking at how often they were recommended, or how did you actually decide on the ones that you chose?
Yeah, same process as choosing any plugin would be to see how popular it is. Look at star rating. Obviously, the higher the stars, the better it's going to be. And how many times it's been downloaded would be good. Most of these block
Hmm.
builders, because the block editor is still fairly newish, or sort of being more widely adopted finally now since it's come out. They're all fairly new and actively continue to be developed. Um, I know a new version of Cadence Blocks is coming out very shortly. It's in beta, I think, or maybe it was released on Tuesday this week. But those would be the things you check for sure. How many times it's been downloaded, like how popular is it? The more popular it is, the more you can trust um, that people like it and it's actively developed and stuff like that. So I'll go through some of the ones that
So,
we have here because you did ask if there were like a free one. There's one that's called Ultimate Blocks, and Ultimate Blocks is a free one, and it's not really associated with any specific theme. It's just they've developed these additional block features that you can install and have. It would work with any theme, just like most of the other ones, but it's more specific to just being a block extender and not being something that pairs perfectly with the theme that they have out. They strictly do that block plugin and give it to people.
okay. So what are we trying out? So my question is how are we organizing, how do we organize in our brains? I mean, I use Cadence too, so obviously it was a natural for me to just go straight to the Cadence block extender. But if I wasn't a Cadence user, what kinds of what criteria am I looking for to decide which block editor I like? What should I be on the hunt for?
Um, I would say that really depends on the type of site you have and what type of content you're putting on there, because each of
Hmm.
them might have slightly different block options. Like
Okay.
I know Cadence Blocks has this form block, but some of the other block plugins, maybe they don't have a form block option, and each of them will be slightly different, and each of them on their website you can go and check, and they'll show you what the list of all of the additional block types that they have, and based on what each one has, you can decide, oh, I really want that one because they have this specific block, and that's something I really need to do on my site. And if that's not an option in one of the other blocks, you might choose to go that way because that's
Okay.
what your needs are.
Okay, and so that's the next thing. So really planning ahead and anticipating what you're going to need on your website is going to be the first step. Um, and that's generally that professionals use all the time. They assess what the functionality and design needs are, and then they go from there. So, but every now and again, we can't plan. Sometimes we have a website for many, many years, and we can't always plan the direction that our company takes or that web design takes, even like the things that are popular. I mean, at one point, you couldn't really, the only way you could write testimonials on your blog was to create a bunch of columns and then format those columns and do it yourself.
Mhm.
So my question is, what do you do when you get to somewhere, when you get to something that you want to add and you find out that your block extender does not have it, but this other block extender has it? What do you do then? Can you swap out block extenders, or can you, what can you do? What are your options?
Yeah, this
Or
is
do you lose
something is
everything?
great question, because it's something people should definitely know when they're selecting the one that they're going to go with. Um, you want to choose the one that you're going to be most comfortable with and gives you the most options that you need,
Mhm.
for editing your site. Because if for some reason there's something else that you want to do, but it's not a block option, then you would have to find another plugin if it's like a functionality thing or something specific, or you just have to work within the confines of that specific block builder
Mhm.
that you've built. Um,
But you can also
adding another block builder, I wouldn't recommend, because you
mhm,
like so. What happens is the native block builder has their set of default, 15 to 20 blocks, like the heading block, the paragraph block, the image block, a row block to create more advanced layouts. A lot of them have that stuff. The extended block plugin that you could install also has those, right? But they have better versions of it with more settings. So now you
right.
have two options for a paragraph, the native WordPress paragraph and the block plugin paragraph.
Okay.
And so when you're inserting content, you have to decide which block you use, right? So if you
Right.
install a third block plugin to extend, now you have
Mhm,
three different paragraph options, three different image options, and it might get
mhm,
a little bit messy, when you're building your site out, or if you have someone else helping you build your site out. You've built everything using a specific image block, and then they come in
right.
and start using one of the other image blocks, and things
Right.
between their image and all of the other images maybe look a little bit different because it's not exactly the same uh, settings that are on it, as a for instance. Now,
Okay.
I would also say that, so installing another block plugin wouldn't really be the way to go. Choosing
Mhm,
one and sticking with it, and depending on what it is you're kind of missing, then you might assess, okay, like what do I really need this for? Can I do it a different way? Is there maybe just a single plugin that will help me that is not a block plugin, but
right.
it's just a single plugin that will give me what I need? Assess those things and make a decision.
Okay, so I do have another question. So with the Aveda theme, which has nothing to do with block extenders at this moment, it's just an example of how I used to work with it. They had this really great um, feature where you could create a little section, just a little section on a page, and then you could save that section and then reproduce that section on any other new page moving forward.
Mhm.
Um, could you like organize on the blocks some kind of like in the HTML, if we used an HTML block, could we actually do a custom coded block to create some kind of design or functionality that we can't get otherwise, and then save that as a custom block for another time, or
You
just
you can't
even
you can't make create your own block per se. Like, so someone would need to
right?
code
Yeah,
a block if you wanted some block that
that's what
wasn't
I'm.
available. But Is that what you're talking about? Creating a
Sort of.
custom
I don't mean sort of. So I don't mean coding a block. Like
a
I'm
custom
coding,
layout,
I mean, yes, a custom layout. That's exactly right, within a block.
right?
So you
So,
could get
so
somebody to
for
do the
sure,
HTML stuff for that. Yeah.
within most of the options, and even just natively, I believe in WordPress, just in their normal block editor, there's
Yeah.
something that's called a reusable block. And so
Oh,
if you
great.
create a section that is really nice, it's a say it's some call to action for getting in touch or booking an appointment or whatever it is that you want on like every page, and it's the same
Mhm.
on every page, and it's got a nice colored background with a fancy like image fading through or something like that, and then this whatever your message call to action messaging is with a button.
Mhm.
You can lay that all out using the block plugins or block editing features, and then you can select the entire thing and call that entire thing a reusable block. And once it's
Great.
set as a
Okay.
reusable block, when you go to other pages, you can
Mhm.
insert that reusable block
So it
that
will
you
come
use
up on the
somewhere
block
else.
side.
And sorry.
Oh, it will come up. So on the left-hand side is where you get your options to choose the blocks from. It'll show up on that left-hand side, or is it somewhere special?
It would show up in that left hand side in a
Oh,
reusable
great.
block section.
Excellent. I had no idea.
Yeah. So then the way the reusable block works is it's going to be the identical block on every wherever you put it on every page. If you
Right.
make a change to one of them, on any of the pages that that reusable block is used on, when you save the page, it'll give you the
Oh,
choice if
it'll
you
bump.
only want to save the changes you've made
Okay.
to it on that specific page or for
Hmm.
every reusable block to be changed.
Okay.
So
So
it's
that's,
really good for things that are throughout your entire site that you don't want to change multiple
yeah.
times. It's
Yeah.
good to,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can definitely use a reusable block.
Great. All right. Well, that's really great to know. Okay. So we're just coming up to 11:30, and I just have one more question. Did you have anything
Oh, we
else
got
on your points that we haven't
five.
hit?
We
Okay.
got an extra 5 minutes
Pardon?
if we want to go. Right, we started
Well,
late. So do you have to go?
I do have to go. I'm afraid I have to go today.
Okay,
So I
we'll
have
wrap
a,
up quick here. Let me just
okay.
mention some of the other options. I'll just go through the options of blocks, just so people
Mhm.
know. Obviously, we've mentioned Cadence blocks is my go-to. The Spectra block plugin is really good. There's Ultimate blocks, and then there's Generate blocks. Generate blocks works really well with Generate Press theme. And then there's two others that I'll mention, not really theme associated either. They're just additional, and I believe both of them, oh, maybe only one of them is paid. There's a block plugin called Breakdance. I kind of like the name, but I haven't used it. And there's another one called Stackable, and Stackable is there's no free tier; it's only a paid block plugin. But those are
Okay.
the block plugins that I would recommend looking at if you want to make a decision on extending the block editor with WordPress.
Okay, terrific. So the last question that I have that I think is super important for future planning is okay, so I know that when you get a template that you pay for, sometimes there's a lot of problems if you want to swap templates out at a later date. If you've used the template formatting, then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that can lead to a mess, for example, on your blog posts. I've seen that happen before when you want to import your blog posts into a new theme. So how does these block extenders, because what I understand is the Gutenberg blocks are going to be pulled in easily, but what about the block extenders? Are they also pulled in easily, or is that proprietary code that's in there?
Um, Changing block plugins. I mean, it's not impossible. I wouldn't. once you choose the one you want to go with, I would tend to stick with that because it's not easy. Like you can't go like, well, I want to go from Cadence to Spectra now. There's no
That's
conversion, right? You would just
that's
install Spectra
okay.
and then start using Spectra and have to anything that you built with a specific cadence block option, you would have to redo it with the Spectra
Okay.
option if you want to
So,
get
but
rid of
okay, so I don't see why people would be going between those two plugins, but I'm saying if people have a theme that they've already paid for and they want to update their theme because their theme becomes obsolete, that's usually when we're trying to import the old blog posts into the new theme. And so that was my question. If somebody uses one of the premium block extenders, is that also going to be a problem? And it sounds like yes, it is. So Gutenberg blocks are fine, but the rest are not.
They're all fine. It's switching them that you might have a problem because if you want to get
That,
rid
that's
of
what I'm that's what I'm asking. So the Gutenberg plugin is fine. You can basically move that to any single theme, and the formatting will be maintained because it's WordPress a developed thing, right? But any kind of premium one, it's like working with a premium template. There's always going to be some issues when it comes if you've used um, the formatting that they've provided to,
Mhm.
um, rather than doing it on the old
Yeah, like
editor.
most things in WordPress, if you've used something specific to do something on your
Hmm.
site, if you
Yeah,
want that not to be there anymore, things would need to be redone
great.
to
Yeah.
remove it. Although
Okay.
I would say, just on a quick note, the way I know that Cadence, at least, and I'm assuming most of them would probably be like this. If you were to remove that plugin, you, I don't think, would lose all of the layouts and functionality, or you'd lose the functionality, but the layouts of your pages would not
Okay.
change. What would happen is because the plugin's not there anymore, the code that created that section would be in the editor, and it would still
Right. So
display.
you would see the
It
little,
would still display,
yeah.
but you wouldn't really be able to edit it because that block plugin's
Right.
not there anymore until you
Yeah.
until you actually changed it, redid that section.
Okay. Okay, that's good to keep in mind. So, thanks for joining us. If you found us somewhere on the World Wide Web, we actually stream live from the Cyberpunk Marketing Geek Marketing Mixer, a Facebook group. It's a private group. You're welcome to join us there. Otherwise, we're here every Thursday at 11, and next week's topic is a follow-up on this, which is about the SEO implications of using these block editors and page builders. So if this is something that you're doing, you're DIYing your own website or and making your blogs really fancy with page builders and blocks, then please join us because there are some hot tips to know so that you don't mess up your SEO rankings. Right on. Thanks for joining
Absolutely.
us, everyone.
Thanks, Rena. Thanks, everybody.